Hey everybody, welcome to a special show about the Harlan Hauntfest and the Paramountain lectures with special guests Tony Filosi and Jason Edwards. Welcome to the show. My name is Kathryn Kauffman and I'm a psychic medium in Lexington, Kentucky. Work with the Harlan Hauntfest, right? Is that correct?
Jason, more so than I became, I'm kind of like a satellite member of the club. I'm not hardly in the club yet, but I'm trying.
He's in the club.
He's in the club.
Yes,
you made the cut, I guess.
Harlan County Hauntfest started about 3 years ago, and you can probably chime in and tell them more than I can. Yeah. I can just tell you that they're good. They're a great bunch of people that have really started something here in Harlan with bringing in top-notch talent, speakers. And,
what type of my fan base probably would want to know what exactly goes on at the Hauntfest. Is it like Scarefest or is it different?
Better.
It's okay. Think of Scarefest as like Comic-Con. We're more like Dragon Con. We're more like a little smaller, family-oriented kind of thing. So whereas a lot of your other paranormal and pop culture stuff is maybe like you either have stuff like the Midwest Haunters thing where it's focused on haunted house stuff. And then you have like Scarefest, which is paranormal stuff. We're kind of just a pop culture cauldron, a little bit of everything. Everything from, we've had, Tony and several other ghost hunter groups there, and then we've had wrestlers there, and we've had, we have artists there, and we have artisans there. So it's just, if you think pop culture, yeah, we've had TV movie stars from Walking Dead, and so we're just the pop culture-y cauldron boiling pot, but small and family-ish.
Very family friendly.
So, if a person decided to come to the Hauntfest, what would they anticipate seeing or getting to do?
Well, they get to meet all kinds of interesting people. We have a really nice group of kids who have been cosplaying for the last few years. Some of the costumes that have been coming through,
unbelievable,
are like literally stuff you would see at the top, like the big conventions. Then we have comic book artists, we have independent artists, we've had a tattoo artist and a Topps trading card Star Wars card artist, Bob Hepner, and he's been doing stuff for famous celebrities. So we've got art there, and then we have like fear challenges, so kind of like a Fear Factory kind of thing. So there's little we have video games there. We have guest speakers. We've had the ghost hunters and Bigfoot and cryptozoologists and all kinds of people like that. So you can sit in on lectures if you want to do that.
Yeah.
It's just the food, everything.
So when is the Hauntfest for this year?
October the 7th.
October the 7th in Harlan, Kentucky.
Harlan, Kentucky.
And what's the location going to be?
It's the Harlan Convention Center. Tourism. Oh, how are you?
Tourism Convention Center.
Yeah, Tourism Convention Center. Yeah, Harlan Center. If you type in Harlan Center, it's the only one you'll find in Harlan. 201 South.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you guys a few questions about yourselves also. So Tony, how long have you been a paranormal investigator?
10 years.
And what got you started in that? Like what?
I've always had an interest in that. I've always had an interest in the paranormal, but actually anything unexplained. Ever since I've been, maybe 10 years old, I've read everything I could get a hold of on UFOs, cryptids, mythology, Egyptian, Greek mythology, Sumerian mythology, things of that nature. And I guess the first book that I actually recall reading directly related to like paranormal means anything unexplained, not just ghost or things of that nature, was Eric von Daniken's Chariots And also, I'm gonna date myself here, but I don't know if a lot of people remember Leonard Nimoy In Search Of.
Yes, I do.
I was a big In Search Of fan, so that's kind of what got me on this path.
Mhm. So when you started into this, was there one point in your investigations that, like, you had something really wild happen and you just were freaked out by it?
Yes, some. I mean, not a lot. I mean, I try to keep a real good level head. I won't say that I've never been what you would say freaked out or really scared, but I've been really apprehensive a time or two.
Mhm.
Uh, and are you asking me like what's in
Well,
my
like for me, if something really crazy happened, I
yeah.
would be like freaking out inside and be able to stay calm on the outside, but it would make me just real excited. Like, oh my God, did you see
I get
that?
I get really focused. I want to figure out how that the energies are manifesting how the entities are manifesting their energy and how they're able to come across from their realm to ours. You know, we're just all really interdimensional beings, in my opinion. You know,
Mhm.
if you'll go back and you'll look at some of the like the Jewish Kabbalah. It talks about 10 different levels, and I take it that those levels are different dimensions. Uh,
Right. Right.
Michio Kaku, uh, the physicist, he thinks there's 11, maybe more. So
Right. Now, the latest stuff going around is that there are innumerable number of dimensions that are folded into ours.
I would believe.
And when I first started studying this, I actually studied Baum's theory of the seamless whole, which alludes to like hundreds and hundreds and thousands of dimensions that are kind of in and overlapped in our dimension. So it can be very interesting.
Very, very interesting. It's a great study, and part of what I do is experimentation with frequency, sound
Mm-hmm.
frequency, because more specifically, vibration and frequency. Uh, is everything operates at a vibratory level, everything in the
Mm-hmm.
universe.
Right.
And if we can unlock that key to like the next dimension over from us, we'll say we're at and I keep throwing this number out, which is a healing frequency. So don't, this is not a frequency. This is a healing frequency, 528,
Mm-hmm.
okay? We'll say that that's what our vibratory frequency is. And the next one over is 800. And
Mm-hmm.
sweet spot, we'll be able to basically communicate, lots better, whenever we're trying to catch EVPs or do other types of spirit or entity communication.
That's right. Jason, have you done any paranormal investigating?
I watched a lot of In Search Of and Unsolved Mysteries. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
let's see
What is your connection with the paranormal and haunted stuff?
Um, well, just kind of always been an interest. Growing up, I always called myself an indoor kid. So whenever in the past, my friends and I, we do haunted houses and we would do concerts, but we were always big Halloween oriented kind of people. And so
Mm-hmm.
now that pop culture is kind of caught up with Halloween and it's all kind of starting to overlap, the next thing that kind of came into the mainstream with it was paranormal with shows like Ghost Hunters and Paranormal Lockdown and things like that. So it just kind of started to overlap, and so that's whenever I met Tony, and it's just kind of we just been playing around with the ideal that pop culture and paranormal kind of go hand in hand, whether it's comic book
Mm-hmm.
movies or superheroes or whatever. It's just kind of all, and so I'm just kind of more of a not really been on any hunts or anything like that.
Would
But
you like to go on one?
yeah, it'd be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna hook him up.
Yeah.
You need to get him out of the house.
Uh, that's not a problem.
So, Jason, I was looking at your bio. You've got a broadcasting degree in film.
Yes.
and a field producer for FX Justified, production consultant for NBC's series Constantine. That's pretty impressive bio there, and a documentary to boot on PTSD.
Yes.
What's your favorite projects as far as film to do?
I like documentary work is probably the best because you're still telling a story, but it's kind of a real story that you want to get out there. It's relatable. So small documentary-esque kind of things. I shot a TV pilot 2 years ago here in Harlan, and so I'm not big on reality television, but
Right.
but this was more like a PBS documentary style show as opposed to here let's throw 35 people in a Winnebago and see how far we can get them to go down the side of this hill for $20.
Yeah.
But I like telling stories, and so it's kind of, I guess, a lot of my interest in the paranormal too is because there's always interesting stories behind ghosts, or there's always cryptid.
Right. And pretty much no two stories are the same.
Exactly.
They have similarities, but they're never the same. So, Jason, what is your next project coming up?
Currently nothing.
The hauntfest.
Well, the hauntfest is the next thing, and last year we actually recorded several of the speakers we had. We had from formerly of Coast to Coast AM, we had Ian Pundit there talking about his latest book, and it was a really interesting talk just about the book. It was the name of it was Black Night for the Bluegrass Bill, and it's about a true story that happened here in Kentucky, and so I went into it like, oh, okay, it's going to be a book, and then by the time I was like, okay, I got to buy this book now. So that's kind of our next project. Is I do a lot of consulting for people. It's kind of my gig now.
So are you going to be at the Paramountain lectures this year also?
I probably will be there. Yeah, I'm going to Nashville on a trip, but I booked my schedule tight. But I plan on being there because there's some interesting people that I really want to listen to their stories. Like there's Lucas Wilder, who is the state park Cumberland Gap. And so he's got all these stories about the Civil War ghosts and unexplained Cumberland Gap, which is just right across the mountain, here in Harlan. So I'm kind of digging. I want to hear some of these stories he's got to tell about that.
Should be really interesting. I'm going to be at the Paramountain lectures with an informational table. And back to Tony, are you doing hidden history?
Yes, I'm doing hidden history for the early morning, and then doing more of the paranormal with a ghost walk that evening around 6:30.
Okay, tell us more about the hidden history without giving away your lecture.
I'm kind of right in the middle.
We need to know kind of what it is.
Well, what I'm going to focus on is North American and South American hidden history. Traditional history teaches us that basically that man came across the Bering Strait, 15,000 years ago, and started populating the North and South America. And I take not offense to that, but exception to that. Because let's look at it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to throw out some pretty well thought out theories to make people think. I'm not saying that I'm right or I'm the only source, because there's lots more that came before me, trying to figure this out. But I want people to think for themselves. Okay. But
there's a lot of archaeological evidence right now that points to what you're saying.
And I was hollering about this 5 years ago, before there was a lot, maybe 3 months ago, 2 to 3 months ago, maybe 15, 20 miles from here. It's a place called Pennington Gap, Virginia.
Yes.
Okay. There was some artifacts found that dates back 10,000 years. Okay. They try to tell us that nobody lived in Virginia, which at that time Kentucky would have been part, part of the Cumberland Plateau.
Mhm.
I'll get into part of that, and timeline a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But they try to tell, conventional history tries to tell you that nobody settled here. That's not true.
Right.
You have big civilizations, giant civilizations, in Cincinnati area, and
Right.
also Missouri and St. Louis. Now you're talking about pyramid type. Uh, Now there's a difference between a South American pyramid and an Egyptian pyramid. One's going to come to a point, and
Mhm.
I believe has a different. It has, different meaning or design than what the ones in South America had. Okay,
Right.
they're
It's
real
it's
similar,
this
but
subconscious symbology behind the people who designed and built it.
yeah, and different uses. I think the Egyptians more are for some sort of energy uh, resonance transference, and also the Egyptian pyramids. They're off like 1 degree or a 0.333 degrees off of true north,
Mhm.
and that could be from crustal displacement because they try to tell us that they're only 3,000, 4,000 or so years old, 4 or 5,000 years old. And for you to be off, for an ancient civilization to take a bunch of, the smallest stones are 10 ton, and I think the largest are
Right.
50 ton plus. A
Right.
26-degree incline.
Mhm.
Oh, it's impossible. But anyway, back to North America really quick. At that point in time, 12, 15,000 years ago, you were toward the end of the Ice Age.
Mhm.
You still had 1 to 2 mile ice packs. Okay, so we'll say these guys come across from Russia, made it across the Bering Land Bridge. Okay, now here they go. Okay, hey guys, we're in Alaska. They turn around, and look at each other, and go, crap, what are we gonna eat? Because if you have a 2 mile 2 mile thick ice pack, I mean, you ain't gonna call Domino's and get nothing to eat. What are they going to do?
Yeah.
So sense will tell you, and we'll say, well, they ate woolly mammoths. Well, that may be true. Well, what was the woolly mammoth eating? Couldn't eat snow.
Right.
So
Right.
a lot of holes, in some of that
And
logic.
their theories are kind of actually crumbling right now. So there's a
They,
lot of evidence coming out, and we'll really want to hear more about the rest of your lecture on that. It says on your bio that you get into a lot of folklore and myth. Is that in general, or is it local,
well, local,
or both?
both, but what it is we'll say that we have an alleged place that has activity. Like I investigated a certain building in Harlan quite a bit, and there was this you know local lore that there was a fellow murdered in the courtroom, and it went a certain way, and they had it about 10%, 15% right.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did is went in and looked at the case and started coming up with facts,
Mm-hmm.
through court records, newspaper articles, paranormal investigations, and things like that. So I was able to put together from that folklore to put the correct story together on how that it actually happened, what happened, and who it happened to, and get some really good EVPs from uh, the man that was murdered in the courtroom,
Oh, that's awesome.
as well as his victim.
Oh,
And
wow.
I went to the top of Black Mountain, and that's where the murder took place. The original murder took place,
Mm-hmm.
and so I was able to get EVPs from both locations, and I'll cover a lot of that during the ghost hunt or ghost walk rather, uh, uh, the evening of the 22nd.
So, do you think that the EVPs are place memory, or were they interactive with you?
They were interactive. They were intelligent because how I structure my questioning uh,
Mm-hmm.
is I won't front load anything, but um, I ask. We'll say that I'm talking to this guy's name was Manzo Shepherd. He was murdered in the old Harlan County Circuit courtroom.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked a question, Manzo, do you know who shot you? And the EVP comes through, yes, Jack. Well, the guy that shot him, his name was Jack Heaton. So I play a lot of statistical probability. I try to set it up to where it's black or white. You know, there's no, you get a little garbled response or something from a radio station. I try to build an EVP around that or try to justify that. I try to go as close to fact as I can.
Now I'm going to pose this question to both of you, just taking that case as an example.
Mm-hmm.
What are your guys' thoughts about why those spirits are still at that location?
Harlan's famous, I guess.
They love it here.
Yeah, it's a great place to retire if you're a spirit.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even from a skeptic's scientific point of view, I mean, there's energy in everything. Energy can't be created nor destroyed. So even if you
transform.
Yeah, it can only be transformed. So I've heard theories. People talk about that it's a recording of a past event, maybe some hauntings. Harlan is also so secluded enough, I think, that's like cryptid stuff. There's a good possibility that things pass through here because we have square mileage almost the size of Rhode Island, and not people don't live there. It's just mountainous. It's just trees and forests. So,
Tony, why do you think that? I mean, obviously, if you got an intelligent response, they're not. It's not place memory. So why do you think that they're there?
A couple different reasons. One would be they don't want to pass over to face judgment, because they know that what they did probably where they're going to end up. Two, they died so quickly that they don't know they're dead. So they keep, it's kind of like Groundhog Day. They relive the same day over and over and over. Or that's what I think Manzo Shepherd does. Relives just the last few days of his life over and over. And then I got an EVP and I'll try to dig it up, and I had asked Manzo, I said, do you know you're dead? And he says, no, I'm not. Something along those lines. He knows he's dead, and I'm interacting with it, and you have to realize that we're all energy beings, and I know that you do, but whenever we die, that doesn't mean that our intelligence dies with us. That leaves us. And so Manzo is going to be able to interact with me or whomever on an intelligent level. Now, the other type of activity, will be it's like a stone tape theory, or where that the person really is, and they don't know you're there. They just a residual haunting.
It's like a recording.
Right. It's just because the energy is absorbed into the building, into if you have wood, you have stone. Certain types of stone are better than others. Then that's what you get, is you get a tape that plays over and over and over. But everything has to be right. It's not like it's at 3:00 every day. It's usually whenever all of the like your barometric pressures are right, everything just exactly perfect.
The extra energy of the full moon, which is tonight. So every now and then I will issue like a paranormal alert on my Facebook page, and that's when I get 3 calls within a 24-hour period of like a lot of paranormal activity. So what that means is just the energies are very high in the environment for paranormal activity to occur or things to apparate. So that way my fans kind of know, oh, I'm not alone. This is happening to a lot of other people right now as well, so I feel better and not weird about it.
Okay. Also, you have to look at the geology. Okay, if you've got limestone, if you've got quartz, you've got sandstone, which is silica, you have water, then you've got a big battery. And things will tend to come to that. It's like, the entities are going to need that, like we need a hamburger or something. They have to have, they don't have to have, but they need that energy to be stronger and be able to do whatever they're going to do in their dimension. But
Mm-hmm.
also don't overlook these entities being attached to the land, because I've been in the middle of nowhere, which doesn't mean that 150 years ago it was the middle of nowhere. There might have been several homes,
Mm-hmm.
but and get intelligent EVPs.
Right. Right. Why do you think that is?
I think it's for the geology. I
Mm-hmm.
think that at one time that either something's been close by, somebody's died there, or
Mm-hmm.
wandered through and stayed. I mean, it'd be like us if we, in the natural world, if that we go from place to place to place, and we finally find one that's, we have food, water, shelter, and it's real comfortable. We're gonna probably gravitate more there than we are going to go to the desert.
Mm-hmm. So, what is in all of your 10 years of investigating, what is your best piece of evidence that you've captured?
Gosh,
And have you seen it, Jason? Have you seen any of his or looked at any of Tony's evidence?
I've heard several of his EVPs. I've heard them at hauntfest, and then whenever we was the first time we met in the courtroom upstairs with Ingrid and all of them, you played a few for us. Yeah, so I've heard several of the EVPs.
So, would you say your best evidence is EVP?
Yes. I have a couple of shadow figures. Most of your photographs from people's, I have seen some orbs. I'm not an orb guy. I mean, you can take 1,000 photos and you might get 5 that have. If you actually know, if you're actually in an active place, you might have 5 that has orbs in them.
Mm-hmm.
But I have seen orbs, got some orb evidence. But by and large, the EVPs, and I'm working to try to make them clearer and clearer. I switched recorders about 4 months ago. I still use the Sanyos, but I went to a Tascam.
Mm-hmm.
What people need to realize about audio, and I'm not an audio expert by any stretch of the imagination, is that it's in layers.
Mm-hmm.
And then whenever I went to the Tascam, it's more for musicians, and I started getting better quality EVPs.
In the production world, I worked at EKU, Eastern Kentucky University, in their equipment checkout lab, and we use Tascams for students to do, interviews, and we use it on film projects. So it's like when I worked at a newspaper, and so I used a little Sony handheld recorder, like the ones that Tony used before.
Right.
And when I moved on to the Tascam stuff, it was like it's like moving from a 4-cylinder car to a V8. I mean, the quality is just way better.
Wow.
I said Sony, but they're or Sanyo, but they're Sonys. The other recorders I use.
So what's the one you're using now? Tascam?
Tascam, yeah. I'm using a DR05.
Okay.
You can
That's
get
giving you good results with that?
lots better results.
Mm-hmm.
The other ones are good, pretty good. I mean, because you can get them in Walmart like $60 and 1,000 hours on 2 AA batteries, and it's like great for leaving in rooms, and they're good.
Mm-hmm.
But the Tascam, and you want to set it up, and there's a certain way that you set it up that that makes it even better. But I will.
So you're going to give away this bit of jewel of information at the Paramountain lectures?
No, I give away enough. but I will tell them this, that there's a certain way that you have to set it up, and once you figure that out, then it makes if they go do the research, this will tell them all they need to know. Your battery life is only 3 or 4 hours.
Wow.
But the quality, the payoff is well worth it because of the audio quality.
Just from the recording standpoint, like if we was doing an interview, using the other ones, even though you got great battery life, it's like recording a phone call by holding something up to the phone. But with the Tascam, when you set it up and you set it on its levels, you're getting. I mean, it's like being in the room with. So you can imagine if it's a disembodied sound, you're going to lose all that ambient noise that you would normally get from such a bad mic.
And I'll tell you,
if we have people that are really serious about investigating, they should probably invest in that device.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Don't skimp on your audio. The one example that I'll give you is about a month ago, we did an investigation at an undisclosed location where a suicide took place. And this lady had went in and she checked in and covered the floor in plastic.
Wow.
Wrapped her head in plastic, and then shot herself. And written notes to the staff and the people that would say, sorry about the mess, sorry you had to clean this up, I'm so sorry. So we're doing a quick EVP session, and I have the Sanyos in the different locations in the back of the room, and I keep the Tascam up close with me whenever I'm doing either a straight up EVP or I'm using a spirit box, which, and I'll, if you want to know a little bit more about the spirit box, I can expand on that. But and we're doing obviously we're doing video. So on the video and on one of the recorder, the Sanyo recorder, or Sony recorder, I'm sorry, Sanyo was brain. You can hear. I said, are you sorry that you killed yourself? And you can hear this sorry, right like that. Well, with the Tascam, which I've got, and there's a trick to how you do your EVPs when you're using a Ghost Box or a PSB. I use a PSB. You could hear, and usually they'll come across in sing song, and she says, "Sorry, I did it." You caught that subtle stuff. What you're after is the stuff that really pulls it together, but you heard the sorry very, very clear, and then you hear it steps down. Sorry, I did it.
Interesting.
And you'll get to, and I'll probably play that at the Paramountain lecture series.
So you're going to do a ghost walk after the lectures? Tell me about that. What, where, and what's the history behind that?
Well, Harlan County is noted for its mine violence and violence in general in the 20s and 30s, and actually on up into the 60s. But what we'll do is to do like a historic tour. We'll leave from over at the depot, where we may meet over here. I've not made up my mind yet. And we'll go to several locations where there's been murders, or some sort of tragedy, and then we'll talk about it. Some of them I have EVPs from, some of them I do not, and then we'll end up in the courtroom. The courtroom is where you'll get the brunt of your EVPs. We'll talk about the Manzo Shepherd case, and we'll play a lot of EVPs caught in the old Harlan County courthouse, and things like that. So is there a cost to going on the ghost walk? Free. Everything's free. Let me make that clear, that everything is free. We're having some great door prizes.
Yeah, we've got everything from door prizes. We've got a local guy who's a coin ring artisan. He's made a Sasquatch Skinner knife with a nice, ear antler handle. And it's a door prize. Wow. We've got wristbands, pins, and then we got vendors that are going to be, selling, items. And then we've got, of course, all the lectures. But everything that day for the Paramountain lecture is absolutely free to the public. There's no hidden cost. You come in, if you're going to buy something, you buy something. You support a vendor, support the food. But you don't pay to get this information.
None of the lecturers are being paid.
Well, that's really nice that they have come to do this and are allowing this, given away free. That's really special.
That is, and this is a great event, and it was a brainchild between myself and the hauntfest crew. We come up, we just we met up one evening, we kicked it around, and then bang, here it is.
That's awesome. So I will be there with you guys as well. And if you have any questions for me, just let me know. And future plans as far as where are you taking your investigative techniques, Tony?
Well, I'm going to focus probably more on the sound and vibration because once you charge a room I use an oscillator,
Mm-hmm.
and I've started to get really good results that way. And I've got some other ideas, that's kind of along those lines with the sound and vibration that I'm going to use to try to enhance the spirit communication.
So when you're using an oscillator, does that affect the quality of your recording?
I'll usually turn the oscillator off. I'll charge the area, then turn the oscillator off. But yes, it will, because you will at certain frequencies, absolutely, you'll hear the buzz of the oscillator.
Do you find that the vibration from the oscillator, the buzz, bothers you at all?
It does some folks. It doesn't really bother me. I've had some that would have to leave because it give them headaches.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't bother me that much, at all.
So I wonder how you would go, like when you say you've charged the room with the oscillator.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any evidence that the vibrations are still there when you're doing the recording after you've stopped the device?
There's a certain technique that I use. Yeah. Absolutely.
Inquiring minds want to know. Oh.
What you want to do is, if you have a place with activity, I place strategically speakers that will put it into to the stone or to the wood, and I charge the whole building, basically.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like you need to do some YouTube tutorials on these techniques.
No, I want to keep getting really good EVPs, and then.
Oh, well, I want to thank both of you guys for taking time out to do this interview. Well, I can't wait to see you guys and come to the hauntfest as well.
Yeah, come on out to Paramountain lectures, April 22nd. Start at 10. Stay for the Ghost Walk.
The first annual Paramountain lecture series.
Definitely. I'll see you guys there on the 22nd.